Okay, hey everybody, this is the next call in the group coaching masterclass offer writing workshop. And what we're going to do today is to go through a particular property package and then analyze it and then come up with an offer. We're not going to draft the offer today. We are going to get through the landlord cash flow analyzer so that everybody can see how this works. So first thing is I just received this particular property from one of my clients, one of my students, regarding Northwood Apartments. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take you through this particular property package. And when I post this on the group coaching, the masterclass membership site website, I'm going to include my final version of the landlord cash flow analyzer as well as this particular property package. So if anybody has any questions about it, they can follow along with this recording and these two properties. So Capstone is the broker. I'm going to scroll it down just a little bit and let me see. It's maybe they give us, so here they've got some nice pretty information. Offering details. Let me just tell you folks, as I always say, this offering details section is the broker's get out of free jail card. This is how they're able to avoid any litigation in the event that the information that they're providing is incorrect. I hate that particular part, but they all do it. They all do it. So check out the critical dates. You can go take property tours on these dates, or you can go make your own private meeting. Offer submission, as you can see what they say here, is that offers should be presented in the form of a non-binding letter of intent. That's what ours are, spelling out all the significant terms and conditions, the asset pricing, the due diligence and the closing time frame, the deal structure and each party's rights and responsibilities as applicable, any earnest money deposit, and to include a resume of previous multifamily ownership experience as well as qualifications to close. Now look at this. The asking price is $2.7 million. So this is not going to be one of those TBD type deals. So when we go to set up the cash flow analyzer, in the asking price, we're going to put in 2.7. So we get it, we know right away whether it's going to be a good deal or not at that price. And the terms are that it's being offered in an all-cash basis, free and clear. The alternative to that is that it is being offered on an assumption basis, on an assumable basis, and it's not offered free and clear with new money purchase. All right. So, oops, sorry about that. Now, next, here we have some information about the property. Let's take a look at what they tell us. It's in Mocksville, North Carolina. It's a garden-style property. It's 84 units, built in 88. It's currently 94% occupied. Now, remember, that typically means physical occupancy. We'll have to figure out to see whether there's any type of a economic or loss to lease or concession type of issue going on with the property. Average rent per unit is $537. Remember that. We're going to come back to that in a moment. Sales terms are all cash. And then it has the cap rate of 7.57. We are going to need that. We're going to come back to that in a moment. And of course, they show the cash on cash as 11%, but you know those are their numbers, not ours. Here's the executive summary. Basically, what they do here is they try to tell you stuff. Now, folks, just for the record, I've never looked at this property before. You are watching me read this property package as I flip through it page by page. Okay, so we're looking at mid-'80s vintage turnkey asset. You know, in a smaller, looks like a secondary MSA. It has received roughly $200,000 of significant capital improvements, as opposed to irrelevant capital improvements in the past 36 months. The asset offers tenants the premier rental option in the submarket for the value-minded tenants. That translates into the cheap tenants. It's undergone interior renovations in 73 of its 84 units. Now, what does interior renovations means? We don't know. We'll have to figure that out as we go along, resulting in increased rents and a higher quality tenant base. Currently 94% occupied, trending towards the 95 to 97, but you've also got to understand what the market is bearing in this. And then let's see, burgeoning employers, great. Value propositions include increasing the rent $25 per unit or $25 per unit lost to lease, or $25,000 annually based on the July financials, which equates to $336,000 at a 7.5 cap. What does that mean? That means if we're able to bring the rents up $25 or bring the rents up to market, that means that we can get the property up by $336,000 of value. Significant vacancy loss improvement. Obviously, they're showing that from the trailing 3 financials to the trailing 12, there was a difference of $40,000. So if we can increase the vacancy, this is what we're going to be looking at. All new roofs, windows, siding, light, interior upgrade on a majority of the units have been completed. Additionally, fitness facility was added, leasing center upgraded, and additional CapEx items were also finished. The biggest thing here that he's talking about are roofs, windows, and sidings. That's great. If he took care of all those things, that's something you don't have to deal with. Potential for new rent owners, submeter the water, sewer, and recoup nearly $33,000 annually by shifting this expense to the tenants. Okay, folks, new investors look at that particular line and they buy into it, hook, line, and sinker. You cannot just shift the expenses of the utilities onto the tenants if the market doesn't allow you to. So if the market says that everyone else in that MSA, all the other tenants in that MSA are paying for their water, then yes, that is a great value proposition. But if the guy across the street doesn't charge for water or doesn't charge for other utilities, don't think for a second that you're going to increase the value of this property by just offering by shifting the cost of the water expenses onto the tenants. You will fail every single time. All right. Pretty pictures. Get this off of Google Earth. More pretty pictures. Everything's always pretty in these pictures. Okay, let's talk about this. Turnkey asset with minimal deferred maintenance and excellent recent performance. Okay, so this property is actually a nice asset. I like the way this guy's fixed it up. He's really cleaned it up, and if you take it over, the amount of CapEx that you're going to have to do is probably pretty minimal. You're probably going to turn those other couple of units, make sure that things are going well with them and that you can get that higher rent. And you also want to make sure that those units that you did turn already, you can get that higher rent. Otherwise, by turning those other units, it's a fool's errand. If you can't get that money, why bother? Hold on one second, folks. No problem. Next door is how you get into the basement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thanks. No problem. We're having, bye, Maria, thank you. Yeah, we're having some, no, we're done. Thank you, Maria. Here, some of my employees are going home already. Wouldn't you like to work for me? 3 o'clock. Okay, so they're showing here, let me take a look at some of the things. Remaining 11 units have not seen a light interior unit upfit. They put in hard wood faux vinyl in the main living rooms. That's good. Refinish the countertops, white appliance package. So these are the things that they did and what you should be doing for the next 11 units. So if you're thinking about buying this property, you want to understand what it's going to cost to turn those last 11 units and include those in your acquisition costs, because you don't want to have to pay for them out of current cash flow. If you can raise the money while you're buying the property, do it then. Set the money aside and then go on out and make it happen. Asset improvement, installing new modern ceiling fixtures through all the units, installing community internet or Wi-Fi, that would be good. Key card access. So these guys have a pretty good plan on things that you can do. Northwood Apartments is the only 70-plus unit market rate asset of any vintage within the city limits. As the nicest market rate community in the submarket, new ownership will have the opportunity to raise rates above affordable competitors, given the value that Northwood offers in comparison. I don't recommend that. You never want to be the highest guy in the market. Remember, when we talk about loss to lease, you've got the loss to lease, and then you have the gain to lease. When you go to move your rent up above market, you're now flirting with a gain to lease versus a loss to lease. If you're looking to finance that property, or refinance that property, and the bank is looking at those numbers and sees that you have a gain to lease, that is not necessarily a good thing from a bank's standpoint, because when the market turns and the rents have to come down, the people who have to drop their rents fastest are those people that are the highest, and that would be you, and you don't want to be in that situation. All right, looks like it's a nice area. I don't think that's the place on the left. I think that's the town. Gives you some more pictures about the property. Nice capital improvements they've done to date. You know, look at that, those movies. Yeah, this is a nice job. Yeah, so this is a good-looking property. I like the way this guy's done it. Strong economic growth. Listen, I'm not going to go through this particular analysis, but if you were to put this property package together in the offering memorandum, you essentially are going to cut and paste everything you see here and put it into your package. Why reinvent the wheel? It's already been done for you here. Offered free and clear with a 11.5% cash and cash return. Look at what they've done here is they've given you some debt options. So what they're saying is you can do a 25%, 75% LTV acquisition, a 10-year term at a 4.9% interest rate, 30-year amortization. Loan will be non-recourse. Okay, so that's a CMBS, commercial mortgage-backed security, fresh debt option. Now, if we were to look for agency paper, they've already given us some terms down here from Freddie Mac. At Freddie Mac, look, it's an 80% LTV with at least a 1.25 debt coverage ratio. That doesn't matter. We're not going to buy a property at a 1.25 debt coverage. 10-year term with a fixed rate of 4.5 and a 30-year AM with optional interest only for the first 2 to 5 years. Okay. And the loan will be non-recourse. So this is something you need to think about when you're looking at a particular property is how do you picture yourself financing this deal? Do you picture yourself financing this deal on a CMBS, which is non-agency, or an agency rate paper like a Fannie Mae or a Freddie Mac? Notice the difference between the two, 80% versus 75%. 30-year AM, both 30-year AMs, one's at 4.9% interest, the other one's at a 4.5% interest. So, what are we going to use? These are the terms that we're going to use in our analysis on the cash flow analyzer. But you got to think to yourself, who do I want to be doing business with? And listen, one thing they're not showing you here is a Fred's Bank alternative, a local lender. What will a local lender charge you? Local lender will probably charge you 75 or 70% LTV, probably charge you 5.25% interest rate, probably charge you a 20 to 25% amortization. In other words, incredibly conservative numbers. But if something goes wrong on this property, you can sit down with Fred and figure it out. You can't do that with Fannie or Freddie. You can't do that with CMBS. So think about those things. That's something you need to take into consideration when you're valuing your business. Okay, more pretty pictures. Pretty pictures. What are more pretty pictures? Oh, look at that. It's kind of like looks like a saloon. Okay, what am I looking for here? All right, information here that I'm going to be using, and this is, we're on page 20. Look at this number right here, this information, the rental rate and the unit mix. I'm going to come back to this when I go to build out my cash flow analyzer, all right? So I'm going to remember page 20. What else does it have in here? 1988 year built, occupancy is 94.1, average rent is $537. So, all right, let me see, what else do we have? Property amenities, apartment features, I'm not going to go through any of that. That's all strange. Look at all that extra land there. That's interesting. Was there anything said? I may have missed it where it talked about development of that additional parcel. Let me see. Now they show you some of the. Now they're showing you some of the other places. Great. Physical attributes. I'm not going to go through all of this with you right now, folks. Good stuff. Here's some nice studio, 1 bed, 1 bath, 2 bed, 1 bath. Nice crystal pool. If you haven't noticed, folks, that everything has a crystal pool. Then let me see. This shows you the site plan. Poorly laid out. Beautiful, pretty. Okay, market overview. Geez, I don't care about this stuff right now. This is all going to be very good when I go to do my analysis. I don't care about the comparable sales because the broker, whatever the broker gives me for this information, is always going to be something that makes his story sell better. Doesn't mean it's accurate. It means it's what his story is going to use to look better. All right, here we go. This is where we start getting into the good stuff. Let me just do a quick little. There's the underwriting assumptions. capstone, okay, tax bill, okay. All I care about is this page right here. Let's start looking at this particular property by understanding what time limits these folks are putting into the package. So here's what we're looking at. Look at this T12, September 24th through August 24th on the income, and then they're giving us a T12 on the expenses for the same time period. Great. That's what I want to see. Now take a look at this other one here, right next to it. They're going to take a T6 on the income and a T12 on the expenses. Are we interested in that? Absolutely not. Why should we be interested in that? Isn't this property stabilized? Isn't it running at 94% occupancy? Well, if that's the case, who cares about mixing and matching the income and the expenses? It's not like you've gone through a massive lease up and you've got a period of time where you had no income. No, according to everything they've told us, this is a stabilized asset. So why are we picking and choosing different time periods for the income and the expenses? So right away, I'm looking at this particular section right here that shows me the T12 for the income and the expenses at the same time. Okay. Now, pro forma year one. I'm only going to use pro forma if the numbers look worse. Okay. So let's begin. And the place I'm going to begin is, bear with me here, folks, as I scroll back through. Let me see. I'm going to scroll back to this page 20 because there's information here on page 20 that I start with. Okay? Right here. You're like, really? You start with that? Yeah, and let me show you why. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the information that's on this page. I've got three types of units. I've got a studio with 20 units, and it's got 300 square feet, and the average rent is $409, okay? Then I've got a one-bedroom, one-bath, and that is 28 units at 600 square feet, and that's $509. And then I've got a two-bedroom, one-bath, that's 36 units at 900, and that's $630, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on over here to the cash flow analyzer. And the first thing I'm going to do is start to build in my input data. Now, as you recall, let me blow this up a little bit so we all can see it. Not too big. All right. Remember the contract price was $2.7 million. Okay, so I'm going to put in 2.7. I'm going to use the drop-down box to show multifamily. I'm going to leave the initial improvements and the closing costs blank right now, okay? I know we're going to come back to that. If this looks like a good deal and it looks like we can put pen to paper and make a good offer, I'll come back and start sharpening my pencil on those. But right now, I'm just going to leave it at 2.7. Now, remember, he said that what did he say his cap rate was? He said his cap rate was, whoops, I'm sorry about that. He said his cap rate was, oh, if somebody could just tell me what it was. It was like 7.37, something like that. Let me just make sure I get it accurate, because I know a lot of you people are tough with your accuracy. Cap rate, 7.57, okay. So we're going to put the cap rate in here at 7.57. Now let's use the agency paper. Oops. Do that. Okay. Scroll this down good. No. Oh, here we go. I need to go here 20% down. And the interest rate was 4.5. And it was a 30-year amortization, so I'm going to leave that at 360. And that's really all I'm going to do right here on this. I'm not going to touch the income taxes. All right. Now, Let's go over to the income section now. This is where that particular slide, page 20, let me go back here. And it's right here, all right? So this information is going to come in handy right now because in this particular slide, I'm going to put in that it was, we have studio, and we have 20 studio units, and they're 300 square feet, and it's 409, okay? Then I have one bed, one bed, one bath, and I have 28 of these, and they're 600 square feet, and that price is 409. And then over here I got two bed, and one bath, and this is 36 units, 900 square feet, $630. Okay, now note what this does here, folks. What I'm going to do here is show you that it shows a potential rental income of $541,000, right? $541,000. Let's go back over here to the oops, I'm going to go over to the section that shows the financials right here. Now remember, according to them, the effective rental income, look at this number right here, 529, and they say they collected 442,000. So we went from a top line market rent number of 529, and actually we're showing that number to be 541. But at the end of the day, after we've taken the vacancy loss, the loss to lease, any concessions, any bad debt, all of those types of things, the effective rental income is at $442,000. 254. Awesome. Thank you, man.
Sorry, brother.
Okay. So there we go. What we now need to do is we need to get this number, the effective rental income, where in our thing it says 514. We need that number to show up as 442,000. So what happens if we put a vacancy rate of 10? Nope. How about a vacancy rate of 15? Nope. How about a vacancy rate of 17? How about a vacancy rate of 18? How about a vacancy rate of 18.5? How about a vacancy rate of 18.25? I know you can figure this out with a calculator. I'm guessing, boom, right there. There's my number. Right now, what this is telling me is that based upon the information that we see here, with the vacancy loss, the concessions, the employee unit, the bad debt, all of these things, in order to get from the top line number of 541 down to the effective rental income of 442, we need to, this property is running at an 18.25% interest vacancy loss. Now remember, the way that this is broken down in Doug Rutherford's software is it doesn't take into consideration all of the things that you see here, like the loss to lease, the vacancy loss, the concessions. All of those things get lumped together in Doug's software to show an 18.25% vacancy rate. So it's not all vacancy. Don't call the broker and tell the broker that, hey, this property is running at an 18% physical vacancy. He'll say, what are you talking about? That's not true. And it's not true. But in this particular software, we're lumping all that vacancy together and saying it's 18.25%. All right? Now, here's the thing. The way you need to understand how this works is at the $541,000 figure, the gross potential rent, that is the equivalent of a factory that is operating at 100% efficiency. This property, this factory, is not running at 100% efficiency. It's running at about 81% efficiency, 81.75% efficiency, okay? So there is your opportunity to make money on this deal. You just can't buy it at a NOI that is higher than 81.75% interest rate, okay? So that is the income section. We just nailed the income section. Now we're going to talk about expenses, all right? Now, let me just kind of walk you through the expenses because I'm not going to go through each one. Actually, I might as well, because these guys have pretty much laid it out very easily. Repairs and maintenance. Let me just write these down so we can grab these. 47,130. Payroll is at 88,686. G&A 19,481. Marketing is at 13,585. Contract services 22,810. Utilities, okay, now this one's kind of a problem for me. The utilities are kind of high, which concerns me. Management is at 18,735. I'll explain that in a moment. The insurance is at 13,542, and the taxes are at 22,065. Okay, so this guy's pretty much got these numbers laid out very, very easily. We should be able to put these numbers in very, very quickly. So let's take a look at the insurance. Insurance, he's got 13,542, 542, all right. And then we've got, let me see, what else do we have? Landscaping, legal, he's going to do, let's do contracts. Let's say contract services. He's got down at 22,810. And then we've got advertising. Let's do advertising at 13,585. That seems pretty high. I'll tell you in a second. All right, marketing. We got G&A. Let's do maintenance. Now look over here on the marketing. If we did 5%, the management, he's got 18. Oh wow, so he's doing it for like 3%. Yeah, I'm not buying that. No, let's do it at 5% just to be on the safe side. A property this size, you have to put some marketing into some numbers in there. Let's do property taxes, 22,065. 065. And then we've got utilities down here. I'm just going to throw all other utilities in there at 62. And boy, this is an easy one to go over. So let me see, general and administrative. Let's just throw some. Okay, contract service. Let's do repairs and maintenance. Let's do maintenance at 45,130. I'm just going to go G&A at, bear with me here, folks. It's going to get exciting in a moment. I promise. And then what's this last one? It's $88,000 one. That's salary. Oh, payroll. Yep. Okay. So we come down to payroll and we put in 88,688. G&A. That's all of it. That's all of it. Okay. So let's take a look and see how we did. G&A is at $231 per unit per year. That's pretty good. Look at this marketing number for property that's running at that. Well, they're not running at the physical vacancy that they told you they were. They're running at about 19%. So this guy's spending almost double what you would spend on a marketing budget for a problem property. He's spending almost double. That's questionable. There's something funky going on there. Contract services are $271. That's pretty light. He's running that lean. The insurance is $161 per unit per year. That also is pretty lean. So that's something you want to definitely dig into. Make sure that your insurance broker can provide it at that same level. Maintenance is at $537 per unit per year. Repairs and maintenance, that's pretty good. That's right on the money. Management fee at 5%, and remember, we came down on that number versus what he was charging. Payroll at $88,000 is right on the money. Guys, what I'm seeing here is that the expense numbers are right on the money. They're making total sense, okay? The thing that kind of concerns me is the other utilities. This is something that you really need to figure out. Are we buying an all bills paid property, or are we buying a property that is tenant paid? It's very important that you figure that out and you analyze that properly, all right? So right now, I'm telling you, let's take a look to see what we come up with. according to this, ooh, even though those numbers are right in line, this property is running at a 71% expense ratio. That's huge. This thing had better be an all bills paid property, because at that number, cannot be a tenant paid property. So you got to make sure that you clarify that. I didn't see that on the offering memorandum, but that information should be in the offering memorandum. I'm not going to jump back there and dig it out. You guys can do it on your own when you download the file. But I'm telling you right now, the income on this property is incredibly low. The expenses are incredibly high. It's something that you need to really clarify and make sure you understand before you start making offers on this deal. All right. Now, we've got the income in there. We've got the expenses in there. Because we have the income, because we have the expenses, we can now calculate out the NOI. Now, remember, the broker gave us the cap rate. We have the NOI. We have the cap rate. Let's see how the 2.7 purchase price is in line with that number. And what we do is we jump back over here to the input data section, and we scroll down. Remember, there's our 2.7, and look at this. We come right up here to this number. Oh, come on, baby. Come on, look at that. At a 7.57 cap, this property is worth $1.66 million. Where is this broker coming up with an 11% cash-on-cash return for this property? Where in the world is he coming up with this? This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So let's take a pause right now and see if we can figure it out. Here's what I do. First thing I'm going to do is go over to cash flow analysis. My NOI is right there, $125,000. Let's see what the broker said his NOI was. Where is it? He's showing it's 160. Well, you know what? There's $25,000 of other income I didn't put in there. Let's go back and fix that. Let's fix it. Okay, fine. $25,000. We're going to put that number right here. 25,000 is about $2,100 per month, right? How'd that do to our NOI? Brought our NOI up to $150,000. Let's see what this property is now worth. It's worth almost $2 million. So if we're looking at the income at the cash flow analysis, and we're seeing the NOI at $149,000, and then we come back over here and he's showing his NOI at 160, we're off by only $10,000. We're off by about $700,000 in valuation. There's something not right. Something is not right about this particular deal. Yeah, see, geez. Yep, okay. So this is the type of thing you're going to need a conversation with the broker. You're going to need a conversation with the broker. So let's drop down here to the, oh, you know what? We got to go back and fix this. We got to go back and fix this because there's no way our numbers are going to look anywhere near what they're asking for. We have to put $2 million in here. Okay. So let's go back over to the cash flow analysis. And when we offer $2 million, now the numbers start to look pretty good. You got a 1.54 debt coverage ratio. You've got a 13% cash on cash return. And the numbers start to work when you're looking at it from a $2 million standpoint. The numbers work at a $2 million standpoint, but they don't work at 2.7. And you're only off by $10,000 on the NOI. Only off by $10,000 in the NOI. That means at a 10 cap, it's $100,000. So you're not off by a whole lot of money. How is this guy justifying 2.7% purchase price? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So that is what we are looking at on this particular deal. You can't offer 2.7. You got to offer 2. So that's, I'm going to save this cash flow analyzer. I'm going to save the other information, and I'm going to jump on over and check out to see if there are any questions that anybody has on this. I hope this was helpful. But this shows you within a, yeah, you see, look at Gary nailed it. Hold on, Gary, let me blow this up. Include other income. Yeah, Gary Rosh said you got to include other income. Gary, you're absolutely right. I didn't see your post, Gary, when I figured that out. Great minds think alike, and so I appreciate you doing that. But that's exactly what brought me back up to within $10,000 of his NOI. But I'm using his cap rate. He gave me that cap rate. I don't even know this market, and even at that cap rate and the numbers, there's no way you can justify a $2.7 million asking price. Okay, what happens if you take the management fee to 3.5, which is what he is calculating? Right. Okay, so wanted to ask, what happens if you bring the management rate to 3.5? Well, what you do is you pick up the phone and call the broker and say, can you give me the name of a management fee that works for 3.5%? Because I'd love to meet them. And on the property this size, I think you're going to be hard pressed to find any property management company to do it for 3.5. And that difference between what I said about what I think the management fee is going to cost and what the 3.5 that he's showing, that's going to make up part of the difference in the $10,000 differential in the NOI. Quick question on taxes. Will you adjust taxes based upon the new purchase price? Andrew just asked, would you adjust the taxes based upon the new purchase price? Okay, what we need to do here, Andrew, is the first thing we need to do is, let me just scroll back. Okay, let me. Okay, so we are in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Okay, so if you're looking to buy property in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, you need to understand how the taxes are calculated in that marketplace, in that county. If we were in Texas, I would recalculate the taxes based upon the asking price and not based upon what they currently have. Because in Texas and I think 16 other jurisdictions, it's a non-disclosure state, which means that your taxes are based upon what the assessor last found out the sales price was. And if the assessor finds out that you purchased this property for 2.6 and he's got it on the tax rolls for $1 million, your taxes are going up to 2.6 overnight. And that happens in a non-disclosure state, but it doesn't happen in a state like North Carolina. North Carolina is more stable. And so what's going to happen is the taxes that you're buying this property for now are probably going to remain pretty consistent with what you're, because it's tied into the market rate. And so in that particular case, you're not going to have to revise your taxes because your tax rate will not change that drastically like it would in a non-disclosure state. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question for you, Andrew. Okay, anybody else? Anybody else have any other questions? Just let me know. Otherwise, guys, from this point, what you're going to do is you're going to pick up the phone and call the broker and say, hey, I don't know how you're coming up with a 2.7. Explain it to me. Work me through the numbers. I said, based upon my analysis, your NOI and my NOI are only off by $10,000. And at a 7.57 cap, that means our valuation should only be about $130,000 differential, tops. But Mr. Broker, you're asking for 2.7, and I'm showing a cap rate of about 2.3, or what do we come up with? Let me go back here. Where am I going? Hold on, everybody. I hate it when this happens. And we said that the valuation based upon the new NOI is $2 million. Yeah, $2 million right there. $2 million. So there's no way that I can get anywhere near 2.7. I mean, I could get to 2.55, but I can't get. I'm sorry. I could get to 2, but I can't get anywhere near that 2.7. So you need to help me out, Mr. Broker, and educate me as to why this is a good deal. So, all right, everybody, I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed this call. I will be posting this to the membership site probably, I'll have to do it sometime tomorrow. I'm not at my editing software or computer, but after that, you should be able to get all this information and watch it and read it as you can, and also watch for a post. I'll let you know when I post it up there. So, all right, everybody. Hey, great talking with you, and we will talk again later. Thanks.